Caramelization of the carrot it's a very unique smell. Sweet, mind you.
I'll still take a bite.
Okay, we can take my Lambo. I'll put on a tight show. You sure you can handle? We be faster than Django.
I'm gonna take you on a ride. We're gonna burn for the night. When you're so salty, I'll still take a bite.
We can take my Lambo.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the rum. Now this is 40%. It's 40% alcohol by volume, so it's 80 proof. And this is distilled in Seattle, Washington. The distillery is called Batch 206. Distilled and bottled. There's not any age material here, or at least I'm not seeing it. Sometimes when I open these boxes, if there's not an information sheet there, I'm kind of looking at the bottle, and I'm kind of like a blind consumer here in some ways, in that when people go into a liquor store, they don't know a lot about the business, and they will look for information on the bottle, and there's not a lot there, and that's kind of the case here. Got a synthetic cork, nice topper there. It's got some. It's interesting. Look at that. I'll bring that in there for you. You can see what that looks like there. With some little bit of a residual. As I wonder what kind of filtration they use there, because it looks like they kept it as pure as they possibly could from the still. So that is interesting. I always like it when a distillery doesn't over filter their spirit. When you over filter your spirit, sometimes you beat it down within an inch of its tasting life. So, not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan in rum of adding things to it. Now there's a lot of people who believe in methods of like adding honey or sugar cane or sugar syrup or something to it while it's either post barrel or in the barrel. There's a lot of techniques in rum that, in my opinion, are like jobbing the game a little bit, and I'm not a fan of that. People do that. A lot of people I respect do it, but woo, that is funky. Ho ho! Batch 206 with this Elliott Bay rum. My goodness, that's funky. Man. Right off the nose. It's just like a little bit of like a funk. Who's got the funk? I got the funk. Who's got the funk? So after that, okay, forgive me for the funk dance, but you're looking at some ginger. You're looking at some roots, like you dig up fresh roots. This is going to sound like a very strange note, but a caramelized carrot. Like I love carrots, and sometimes I will slice them thin and cook them with like a little bit of butter and some other things. And if you cook them a little too long, there's like a caramelization of the carrot. It's a very unique smell. Sweet, mind you. Oh yeah, this is a very very raw, very like almost like got some of that kind of Jamaican, funkiness to it. Very spicy, very rum-like. So goodness gracious, if you're a rum fan, I'm going you got to get a bottle of this Elliott Bay rum. This is excellent rum. This is an excellent addition to the American rum movement. How exciting is this? Because they nailed this rum so well, I am now thoroughly ecstatic to taste their straight bourbon whiskey. Normally, when someone does both a rum and a whiskey, I have found that the whiskey and the rum are usually kind of mediocre. It's very hard to do both. I actually do think that rum is probably the harder of the two spirits to distill. Reason being, you're much more vulnerable to poor raw materials. Molasses and sugarcane are not as easy to come by as the grains that are used to distill whiskey. So that's why I think making great rum is always going to be more difficult than making great whiskey. Okay, so here we go to Old Log Cabin Straight Bourbon Whiskey, high malt pot still bourbon, 51% corn, 49% malted barley. Guys, that's a lot of malted barley for a bourbon. I don't know. I think this is a very risky mash bill. This is not a mash bill that I would play around with. And here's the other thing. This is 86 proof. So already that's got, like, in my head, I'm thinking, they might have already watered it down. So I'm already starting to have some negative thoughts about this whiskey going into it, because to me that's just too much barley and not enough corn. I want to see another grain in there, but if they got some killer barley, this could be a winner. New American Oak, char number 3, Independent Stave Company. Not seeing any state of distillation. It's distilled. It is distilled at 206. So it says that they would have distilled it. Now again, as I noted earlier, when I'm opening these boxes, I'm just reading them and talking about what is in the bottle straight to the camera. It's the first time I've looked at it, and here we go. This is Old Log Cabin, which there actually used to be a brand, Old Log Cabin. It wasn't really that popular, but there wasn't a log cabin brand for some time. I'm a little surprised that this one hasn't come up in a trademark dispute, because if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the bigger distilleries does own like a cabin. There's Cabin Still, which is now a still a widely used brand. Okay, yeah, just like I said from the top, that all that barley really showing, and this is something I would categorize in like the new wave of bourbon, I suppose. People experimenting, people trying to find new and exciting things to do. There's a lot of finishes. A lot of people are playing with new grains like triticale. You're seeing different types of malt being used. You're even seeing peated bourbon, which to many people is just bizarre. But for me, all that stuff is exciting as long as it tastes good. Now, the nose on this, if I'm tasting this in a blind competition and it's just in a general bourbon category and I know nothing about this, I am docking this immediately for flaws. And the reason why is because it does not smell like a bourbon. And it does not have, in the way it does not smell like a bourbon, it almost smells like an American single malt. And that's not good or bad. I'm just telling you where my mind is in a blind competition. That's why sometimes it's good to know what the distiller is doing before you taste it, because then you can say, okay, like if I didn't read that label and they didn't put that mash bill on there, I knows it and I'm automatically turned off. And now that I know what it's in there and that I knows it, I'm almost a little bit intrigued, because yes, it smells like a single malt, but it is not off-putting. It doesn't smell like dirty socks. It doesn't smell like a rotten potato, or the garbage that I forgot to take out. Sorry about that, Jack. I meant to throw it away, but I left it out too long. And then after this kind of like barley, this oaty, this like oats, like like Quaker oats, like a lot of grains, almost sweet feed. If you've been around horses, you've carried a bag of sweet feed in your life, and you fed a horse with that sweet feed. It's got like a molasses to it. There's oats. It's a smell, and it's in this glass. But what I'm not getting any of those traditional bourbon notes. So here's the thing. You remember, I said it was 86 proof. That thing tastes like it's 120 proof. Like, it is burning. I am just getting an overwhelming amount of alcohol on my palate. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means it's hot. It means it's really, really hot. And in fact, it's so hot, I'm not really, on the first taste, I'm not really able to discern a lot of the flavors. So let me try it again. Give that one more little swirl. Yeah, really hot. After that, you're looking at some, it's just kind of sitting right there in the middle of my chest. And there's some apple notes to it. There's like a touch of like, fresh baked bread. There is, maybe some cinnamon, maybe some brown sugar, but after that, it's just I can't get over the over alcohol forward touch. Now, with that said, alcohol forward stuff is usually something that can be improved with time in the barrel. What I did not get in there were like any kind of like acetone notes, any kind of Play-Doh, any kind of drywall. So this is a good sign, but we still need to see what batch 206's old log cabin can do while it's in the barrel. So I'd like to see this in a couple more years, whereas this rum, this rum is ready right now. In fact, I'm gonna top off that tasting with this rum. Really like that. If you haven't yet, click that subscribe button and then hit us up, and we will give you, we'll get your address and we'll send you one of these stickers to my podcast, The Fred Minnick Show, every Friday. Now this Friday, again, I am doing this tasting to raise money for bartenders. Make sure you're joining me, and if not, if you can't join, please tell your friends so we can get as many people as there as possible. And I'm going to go ahead and give you, in the comment section, I'm going to give you a link to the USBG so you can directly give money to the bartender community impacted by the coronavirus. Everybody wash your hands, stay safe out there, but most importantly, take care of one another. This is not a time to be selfish. This is a time to help one another without touching them. Cheers.